welcome to my YouTube channel, that is Learning and Programming with Chetan. In our previous video, we have discussed about method overloading in Java programming language. Now, in this particular video, we will going to discuss about one of the most important concept in Java programming language, that is method overriding. So, let us start with the first topic. What is method overriding? When a child class provides the specific implementation of a method which is already defined in a parent class, then this concept is known as method overriding. Let us try to understand it by the help of example. In this class diagram, you can see that there are three classes: employee class, manager class and clerk class. These three classes is a relationship in Java, that is manager and clerk class is a child of employee class. Our employee class contain a method with the name salary. Now suppose in our child class we are not satisfied with the implementation of a method which is already present in a parent class. Then in our child class we can provide the specific implementation of a parent class method. So here manager class is providing the specific implementation of a salary method. Similarly, clerk child class is also providing a specific implementation of salary method. This concept is known as method overriding in Java. Let's see one more example of method overriding. So my dear friends, here you can see that we are having four classes and all these classes are having is a relationship. So here shape is a parent class and shape class is having three childs: square class, circle class and hexagon class. Now in our parent class we have a method with the name draw, and each child class provided the specific implementation of draw method. This concept is known as method overriding in Java programming language. Method overriding is also known as late binding, runtime polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism in Java. This is because in method overriding concept, method call is associated with an object at runtime. Now let us try to understand the need of method overriding in Java. When a child class is not satisfied with the implementation of a method which is provided by parent class, then in that case a child class can provide the specific implementation of the method which is present in the parent class. Due to this reason, we need method overriding in Java. Also, if we want to achieve runtime polymorphism in Java, then we have to use a concept known as method overriding. Now my dear friends, let us discuss about the rules for method overriding by the help of program. In this class diagram you can see that we have three classes: grandfather class, father class and son class, and all these three classes are having is a relationship, that is son class is a child of father class and father class is a child of grandfather class. This is also known as multi-level inheritance in Java. Now the first and the foremost rule for method overriding is that the overriding class and the overridden class must follow is a relationship. Now my dear friends, here I have created a class with the name test overriding rules, and inside my class I have created a main method. By using this main method we will understand all the rules and concept related to method overriding. And here we have created three different classes, that is grandfather class, father class and son class. And here you can see that our son class is extending father class and father class is extending grandfather class. Similarly, here you can see that our son class is extending father class, which means that son is a child of father, and similarly father is extending grandfather. So father is a child of grandfather class. Now our second rule is related to method name. So in method overriding, method name should be same, that is the overridden method of the parent class and the overriding method of the child class should have same name. So here you can see that grandfather class is having a method with the name getMessage, and in our father class we have overridden the getMessage method of a grandfather class. Similarly, in son class we have overridden a getMessage method. So here you can see that overriding method in a child class is having the same name as that of the overridden method in the parent class. Now a third rule is related to argument types. So in method overriding, arguments of method which we are overriding should be same. So here you can see that the overridden method arguments and the overriding method argument is same. Now our fourth rule is related to return type of method. Now here we have two different cases. Let us first try to understand if our return type is primitive. So here in our father class we have get number method, and in our child class we have overridden our get number method. Now here you can see that the return type is same. So when a return type is primitive, then it should be same for overriding and overridden method. Let me try to change the return type of our get number method to long. So here you can see that this return type is incompatible. Let me try to change it to short. So it is also incompatible. So if a return type is primitive, then it should be same for both overriding method and overridden method. Now let us try to understand the rules for return type in case when a return type is non-primitive. So when a return type is non-primitive, then in that case covariant types is allowed. Let us try to understand what is covariant types and rule related to non-primitive data types. My dear friends, here you can see that in our father class we have overridden and get message method of grandfather class, and similarly in our son class we have overridden and get message method of father class. Now my dear friends, let us try to understand the rule related to return type in case of non-primitive data types. So our overriding method can return same return type as that of the parent class method, and it can also return an object which is a subtype of our overridden method return type. Here our son is a child of father, so our overridden method can also return an child class object that is son. But my dear friends, our overridden method cannot return the parent class object of overriding method. So here the parent class of father is grandfather, so our child class overridden method cannot return the parent class object of our overriding method return type. So my dear friends, let us summarize this rule, that is our overriding method can have the same return type as that of the parent class overridden method, and it can also return an son object which is a subtype of father class, and our overriding method cannot have a return type grandfather which is a parent class of our father class. Now my dear friends, let us try to understand our next rule of method overriding, which is related to access modifier. So when we are overriding any method in our child class, then in that case we cannot reduce the scope of our overridden method. Let us first take grandfather and father class. So here our get message method is having an access specifier as protected. So in our overriding method in child class can either have same access specifier, or we can also increase the scope of our access specifier, that is it can be public. But in our overriding method in child class we cannot reduce the scope of our access specifier. So here you can see that if I am reducing the scope from protected to private, then it is not allowing us. Similarly, if I am reducing the scope from protected to default, then in that case also it is not allowing us. But if I am increasing the scope, then this access specifier is allowed. Now my dear friends, let us try to understand our next rule, which is related to exception. Now we have two types of exceptions in Java. First one is unchecked exception and second one is checked exception. Checked exceptions are those exceptions which are checked by compiler at compile time, and unchecked exceptions are those exceptions which cannot be checked by compiler and they are thrown at runtime. So let us first try to understand the method overriding rule with unchecked exception. So if our parent class method is not throwing any exception, then in our overriding method we can throw an unchecked exception. So here null pointer exception is one of the type of unchecked exception in Java. Now let us try to understand the rule or method overriding related to checked exception. Now the first case is when our parent class method is not throwing any exception. Then in that case a child class method should not throw any checked exception. So here our get message method is not throwing any exception. Now let me try to add one checked exception. file not find exception is one of the checked exception which is checked at compile time. So here you can see that when our parent class method is not throwing any exception, then our child class method should not throw any checked exception. That's why we are getting compile time error here. Now our second case is when our parent class method is throwing a checked exception. Then in that case, either our child class overriding method cannot throw any exception, or it can throw the same exception as that of the parent class method. Now let us consider grandfather class and father class. So here our get message is throwing an checked exception with the name exception. In Java, exception is a super class of all the exceptions. So in our child class overriding method, we can either throw the same exception, or our overridden method can throw the subclass exception. That is, file not found exception is a subclass of exception. So this get message method in father class is throwing file not found exception. Then our child class overriding method can either throw the same exception, or it cannot throw any exception, but it cannot throw the superclass exception. That is, if in our child class overridden method, if we will try to throw an exception which is a superclass of exception which is present in a parent class overridden method. So here exception is a superclass of file not found. That is why it is not allowed in a child class overriding method. So my dear friends, we have discussed about all the important rules related to method overriding. Now in our main method, let us try to understand our first statement. So here father obj is a reference of our father class, and here we are creating an object of son class. So our father is a parent class and son is a child class of father. So here by using the reference of our parent class method, we are calling the method of our child class. Similarly, this is the reference of our parent class, and here we are creating an object of our child class. And by using our parent class reference, I am calling the get message method of our child class. So let us try to run our program. So here I have passed 10 and it is calling the get number method. Now this get number method is a method of our parent class, and here we have passed the number value as 10, but in our console we are getting the value as 100. So as we have taken the object of our child class son, that is why at runtime it is not calling the method of a parent class, but it is calling the method of our child class. So this is our overriding method in our child class. In this statement we are doing the multiplication of our number, that is why we are getting this value as 100. Similarly, by using our grandfather reference, we are calling the get message method of our child class. That is why we are getting this value which is present inside overriding method of our child class. So here our method call is not associated with a reference, and at runtime in place of calling the method of our parent class, it is calling the method of our child class. That is why method overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism in Java programming language. Now my dear friends, in the next part of this video we will discuss about various important concepts and question answers related to method overriding in Java programming language. Do like, comment and subscribe my channel and click the bell icon for latest updates.